All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with another video by none other than Glaive Keo, the #2 Kurobot. And today what he's going to be focusing on is quality of life. Quality of life that has been added to Wuthering Waves, but has been surprisingly absent from both Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, and ZZZ, right? All of the wonderful things like Echo loadouts and a ton of other features that just make the game a lot better to play. And he's going to be covering that. I'm very interested in hearing what he has to say, so let's go ahead and get right on into it.
Genshin Impact is in one of the worst states it has ever been. Corporate greed? Check. Predatory monetization? Check. Quality of life exploration locked behind an expensive paywall? You betcha.
Open up. Pick it up.
And somehow, despite all of this, Genshin developers remain the most stubborn, out-of-touch game devs in the entire gaming industry.
I think this is really the main thing that I think just pissed off so many members of both like the Genshin community and the gacha community as a whole. It is Dewey himself crying on stage during one of the live streams, talking about how they've listened to the concerns of all the players, how they're going to do better and improve Genshin Impact as a whole. And then they proceed to do everything that Glaive just talked about. All of these things that actively make the game worse, that make the game harder to enjoy. And they do this all after talking about how they're going to improve the game and how they're going to fix it. And it just feels like the biggest slap in the face to go back to those days. Think that the game is finally going to be on a better path after going on a complete downward trend over the past couple of months. And I think right now it's just like sadness, disappointment, and fatigue with what these devs are doing.
They even know what the players want, or do they just not care? Personally, I think it's probably the latter.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you,
we don't care.
Because after 4 years of ignoring every single request, rejecting every reasonable suggestion, and doubling down on the mechanics that frustrate players, they have suddenly decided they want feedback. But not just any feedback, a survey. Yes, folks, a totally real, totally not performative survey. Not an announcement, not a developer's post, not even an acknowledgement that the changes are coming. Just a form they didn't even bother to put in the game for the players to see. And what's even worse,
we had to go to an external website. I do believe he's talking about the survey that focused on things like weekly boss mats, that focused on talent and ascension materials being locked to like 3 days a week. They didn't even put that in the game. We had to go find an external link, go dig it out from somewhere like the abyss of the fucking internet and complete it that way. And so they didn't even want the feedback, if we're frankly being honest. I think that what Glaive just said about it being performative, that's entirely correct. Otherwise, there would have been a big ass notification for it in game, like an official news thing that they would have posted. And yeah, I mean, it's one of the most confusing surveys I think I've ever seen.
Players to see. And what's even worse, people are actually celebrating this. They're acting like this is some grand moment of change. Devs listened. Devs listened. Devs listened. As if Genshin hasn't been pretending to listen for years. So let's talk about why this is the most hilariously embarrassing attempt at listening to the community Genshin has ever done. A few days ago, Bran Online posted a tweet. And if you've been in the gacha space for any amount of time, you already know when a drama starts, there is about a 95% chance that it involves a tweet. This is just the world we live in now.
Genshin players, we have an opportunity to make meaningful changes in the game here. The survey and the reply to this tweet wasn't posted anywhere in game like usual as far as I can tell.
So for all the people saying that it wasn't posted in-game, well, you got one of the biggest Hoyo CCs themselves telling you that it wasn't. So it was posted later. Ah, okay.
It is for very specific things we have been asking for. Fill it out, please.
Meaningful changes? Oh, I thought the Shields agreed that the game was perfect. Why change perfection? Now, let's be clear. The issue isn't really Bran himself. He's just another Hoyo Shield doing what Hoyo Shields do, hyping up every breadcrumb Hoyoverse throws at him like it's a gourmet meal. We know this already. But here's what is a problem. The absolute delusion of people acting like this is some major turning point. A survey that wasn't even officially announced anywhere, that they have already done before with absolutely zero results. And this is what gets people hopeful. At this point, it's like watching someone keep going back to a restaurant that serves them cold, unseasoned food and thinking this time it'll be different. Newsflash, buddy, it won't. Which brings us to Bran himself. Bran Online is the type of guy who complains about bland food at a restaurant and then keeps coming back for more. And not just that, he complains while actively ordering more food and tipping extra. At some
C6 Mavuika, right after telling everybody how predatory the design of her banner was when it was released alongside Silali, then proceeds to C6 Mavuika because Cheaton commented on his Twitter post. Sure. Cheaton did that. I guess you have to do it.
Ordering more food and tipping extra. At some point, you have to wonder if he actually has a problem or if he just likes the abuse. Like, dude, you were just ranting about how Genshin banners are getting more and more predatory, how they're pushing characters out faster, giving them trash filler weapons, and making free-to-play players feel like they're falling behind. And then what did you do? You turn around and C6 Mavika. Let me spell this out for you. If you're still throwing your wallet at them,
I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the most just like, that had to be one of the most tone-deaf things I think I've ever seen somebody do. I just don't understand the thought process of going on this like virtue signaling moral crusade about like how bad the latest release is, and then proceeding to be one of the biggest spenders you could possibly be for that release. I just don't understand it. And it's just like, at this point, you might as well just like pick a side of like, just go full on shilling or go full on for the players. But like trying to do both at the same time, it just looks so bad trying to do both at the same time. Neither side is going to take you seriously.
spell this out for you. If you're still throwing your wallet at them, what's their incentive to change? There isn't one. You're rewarding the exact behavior you're criticizing. It's like getting scammed by a used car dealer and then thanking them while buying another lemon off the lot. Now, to be fair, at least he's spreading the awareness about the survey, because Genshin sure didn't, which brings us to the real issue here. Genshin didn't even bother announcing the survey. Not in game, not on Twitter, not in their Discord, nowhere. It's almost like they don't actually want people to see it. You'd think that if they were serious about getting real feedback, they would make it impossible to miss. Instead, it's buried in the deepest corners of the internet. It's like some secret side quest you have to data mine to find. And yet, here comes the replies. Wow, they're actually listening. This gives me hope. Thank you, devs. Devs listened. Welcome to the Cloud Fiesta Clubhouse. I'm sorry. Are we actually thanking $1 billion company for doing less than the bare minimum?
Bro put on like his best Clocky impression for this one. That was a bit of a banger, actually, to be honest. He's about to enable Super Break on this video.
This is like praising a landlord for finally fixing the plumbing after 4 years of leaks. And let's not forget, this is far from their first survey. They have been asking for feedback for 4 years. What was the point of every single survey before this one, if this is the one they're supposedly taking seriously? Oh right, there was no point, because none of them actually mattered. Listen, I used to take these surveys seriously. I would sit down, put time into them, and really think through my feedback. My friends and I would hop into a call, break down the update, and give actual constructive criticism. You know, like rational people who actually care about the game. And then after a while, we had this realization, an epiphany, if you will. None of it mattered.
Well, this is the thing, right? This was before the days that Wuthering Waves released. This was before the days when Wuthering Waves was actually implementing quality of life every single patch. And I do think that there's been a bit of a tonal shift at Hoyoverse where they suddenly can't get away with just like going through the performative theatric motions of pretending to listen to feedback. They actually kind of have to start doing it now. There's a reason, guys, why Genshin Impact has seen more quality of life in the past year than it's seen across the rest of its lifetime. It is 1000% entirely due to the release of Wuthering Waves and the fact that Wuthering Waves is a true competitor that is doing so many things better than Hoyoverse in pretty much every single way that people and players and spenders, right, are able to see the huge disparity in the quality between both of the games, the quality of life as well. And it is leaving such a sick, sour, disgusting taste in the mouths of Genshin Impact players. And the most diehard Hoyo shills, the biggest fans, the biggest glazers of Genshin will vehemently, right, just keep repeating over and over that all of this quality of life is planned, that everything is intended by Hoyo, that nothing is actually because of Wuwa. Wuwa is like not even a factor that goes into these decisions. And if people are still saying shit like that now, you have to realize that those are the voices in the conversation that you literally need to start phasing out, ignoring, and, you know, in a sense, right, like ostracizing from your community, because they're going ahead and they're actively 1000% making the game worse. They are trying to push forward this whole idea that everything Hoyo does is right. And guys, guess what? A lot of it is actually wrong. The fact that you're 5 years into the game or close to 5 years into the game and you still have your ascension materials for characters locked to 3 days a week, the fact that your weekly bosses, each of them can only be done one time, so at minimum, if a new character gets released alongside a new weekly boss, you're basically guaranteed to have to farm it for like 6 to 8 weeks to max out all of their skills, assuming you get lucky on the drops or have Dream Solvent. That's insane, right? Let's be honest here, that's just insane, having to wait that long to level up a fucking character. together. And it's just, even their future games, right? Their Honkai Star Rails and their ZZZs don't have that restriction. And it's just like, why does Genshin still have it? Like, how are you even at any stage where that is something that's just not immediately critiqued to hell and then fixed?
Surveys mean as much as a summer ant. Actually, no, that's generous. At least the summer ant contributes to the ecosystem. These surveys, they are purely performative. Let's do the math. 4 years and 2 months. That's how long Genshin has been running. That is like 50 updates, hundreds of surveys. And what has actually changed? Oh wait, nothing. The resin cap is still outdated. Artifact grinding is still hell. Endgame is still non-existent. Imaginarium theater, whatever. If that's the best that they can do, holy, think about what kind of devs you're glazing. They're still pushing out premium skins like a fast fashion brand while pretending that the player base hasn't been asking for meaningful improvements since
Well, this is the thing. They're not even pushing out skins like a fast fashion brand. They're just not pushing out skins. Like, they come out with skins so absurdly slowly, it's ridiculous. I can't even imagine with the budget and the team and like the size of Hoyoverse, how their skins suck so bad and how they take so fucking long to release. It actually doesn't make sense. It's almost like they don't even factor this into like any of their development plans. Like the fucking Hu Tao skin is like, oh, it's like, oh, it's such a cute little skin. It looks like a fucking, like, it looks like a regular, like not even premium, like not even for a 5-star skin. Why are you pricing it like a premium skin? It doesn't look that special. It has no effects. And then you go to Wuwa and it's just like, it's better. Jinxie skin is like, it's just better.
premium skins like a fast fashion brand while pretending that the player base hasn't been asking for meaningful improvements since 2020. Why would anyone believe that this time is different? What is the incentive for Hoyoverse to suddenly listen that they've spent 4 years proving they don't? This isn't a real discussion. It's a formality. It's a corporate theater. It is Hoyoverse pretending to be engaged with the community while continuing to ignore everything that doesn't serve their bottom line. The same bottom line that has been made them billions, while leaving player with a game that is actively getting worse. And the best part, they don't even have to try anymore. Genshin players have been trained to thank them for scraps. They know they can put out the barest minimum of effort, throw in some buzzwords like player feedback and meaningful change, and their most loyal fans will eat it up like it's the second coming of Archon Jesus. But you know what? Enough mocking. You all already know what I feel about the game, so let's just go and dissect the survey. I mean, how bad could it be? They want to listen to feedback, right? Let's just go into it. First question, how satisfied are you with the time limit on acquiring talent level up materials and weapon ascension materials? How satisfied? As if there's an acceptable answer to this. If you pick anything other than very unsatisfied, I genuinely do not know what to tell you.
What I heard a lot of ex-Genshin Impact players have done is they've got into that survey and they've just chosen very satisfied for all of the options so that the game EOS is faster. That's what I've heard a couple of people have done. They just go in and they say, everything's good. Yeah, I quit the game for all of these reasons. Yeah, but don't worry, everything's good. It's all good. It's great. Wonderful. Weekly boss mats, only getting one of them a week and then getting random drops I can't even upgrade my characters with if I don't have Dream Solvent. That's good. Awesome. Keep it in the game.
This system has been universally hated for over 4 years. Your ancestors in heaven know this system is bad. Future generations will be born knowing this system is bad. There's gonna be documentary videos talking about how this system is bad. And yet somehow, Hoyo shills are still out here defending it like it's the pillar of game design. Why do I need to schedule my life around a gacha game? It's supposed to be casual, not a full-time job where I have to track materials availability like I'm filing a tax return. And then there's this gem. How satisfied are you with weekly boss fights only being farmable once a week? Hoyoverse, you literally put the problem in the question. You know it's bad. You wrote it out. You had a whole meeting about it. But instead of just fixing it, you're asking us to confirm what you already know. This is
That's, I think, the most insulting part about this entire survey. And I talked about it in my video. The way that they worded and described what the issue is in the question is like so on point with how absolutely fucked up the entire dynamic is. The fact that they're even asking the question is just one of the most ridiculous and tone-deaf things possible. You might as well look at it and you're just like, okay, I should just go fuck myself, right? It's just, they already know. It's like you go to the doctor and like your arm just got like mangled or cut off in an accident and the doctor asks if your arm hurts. You're just like, yes, no fucking shit, Sherlock. Yes, it fucking hurts. And they're just asking the most obvious things that they already know the answer to. The only question that the surveyor or the survey answer has is, why are you even asking this? Just fix it already. Just fix it.
like a doctor diagnosing you with a broken leg and then handing you a clipboard asking, so on a scale of 1 to 5, how painful is it?
This is not pre-watch, by the way. He actually copied me. That's not pre-watched.
What are you doing? Waiting an entire week to farm a single boss drop is insanity. You pull a new character and can't even upgrade them immediately. You just sit there twiddling your thumbs, praying to the way that the boss finally resets. But if you don't, congratulations. You just unlocked another week of suffering. You can finally continue your edge streak. Congratulations. You are a clown. At this point, Hoyoverse isn't even pretending they don't know these systems suck. They just don't care. They would rather put the responsibility on you, the players, to tell them something is bad, even though they have been bad since launch. Oh, and here's something really interesting. This survey magically spawned when Wuthering Waves had its 2.1 livestream.
Do you know when this survey should have spawned? The one talking about the constraints of the weekly boss mats, the constraints of the talent essential materials? Yeah, this should have been in version 1.0. Yeah, this should have been sometime in version 1.0. Maybe like 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3. That's when this survey should have dropped, and the feedback should have been implemented within 1.0 as well. At minimum, it should have been about 3 years ago. So, yeah, I mean, you know, it's just, hey, Genshin Impact players, you should be rejoicing, right? Wuthering Waves, whether you like it or not, is going to actually save your fucking game. You know what? This is what I would do. If I was a Genshin player that wanted the best for Genshin, this is what I would do. This is how you fix Genshin Impact. You proceed to stop playing it for a short period of time, or a long one, right? Depending on, you know, how much better you want it to get. You start playing Wuthering Waves, you stop playing Genshin. And what that's going to do is tell Hoyoverse, oh my gosh, we're losing players because our game is in a dog shit state, and they're all going to the game that's in a better state. And then once that conversion starts happening, Hoyo's finally going to be like, oh my gosh, we're not making XYZ amount of money and we don't have XYZ number of players. Maybe let's actually start fixing our fucking game. Stop releasing dog shit patches like 5.4. Stop releasing dog shit banners like Silali and Mavuika, and actually do things that isn't going to piss the entire fucking player base off. And then that's what's going to happen, is that the Genshin devs will then start making the game better. And this is the thing, guys. This transformation has happened to the rest of the Hoyoverse games. This transformation happened to ZZZ in version 1.4, and the Honkai Star Rail devs pushed the envelope of greediness and dogshit patches too far in 3.0, and now they've committed to fixing Honkai Star Rail by 3.2. And so what needs to happen is that Genshin is now the odd one out. People need to start quitting that game. They need to start actively shitting on Genshin, and then what's going to happen is that the devs are going to do a ZZZ 1.4 or a Honkai Star Rail 3.2. They're going to fix the game, and they're going to tell you how they're going to fix the game, and they're going to promise to fix the game. The only way to do that is for Genshin to literally lose players, to lose revenue, and then they will start fixing it. But if you keep spending, if you keep falling for the predatory garbage like Silali and Mavuika, they're just going to keep going, and they're just going to keep fucking you. And that's what's going to happen. It just depends on when the player base has finally had enough.
Survey magically spawned when Wuthering Waves had its 2.1 livestream. What a coincidence! Genshin has been ignoring complaints for years, but suddenly, the second Wuthering Waves makes a noise, Hoyoverse is like, oh no guys, we totally care! Tell us what you think, we're listening now! You're telling me this isn't connected? You're telling me Genshin suddenly wants feedbacks at the same moment Wuwa is making waves? Hoyoverse, be honest. If you really wanted feedback, you would have done this when people were actually begging for it, not when your biggest competitors is gaining traction. At this point, if I want Genshin to improve, I should just fill out a Wuthering Waves survey instead, because apparently Hoyoverse only listens to Kuro games. Let's talk about a real thing, actual game improvements, because while Genshin is busy pretending to care, Wuthering Waves has been delivering. Look at what Wuthering Waves has added since launch. We're talking massive quality of life updates, genuine balance changes, and oh, the big one, echo loadouts. You know, the thing Genshin players have been begging for since 2020. The thing we were told was too hard to code, or whatever excuse the Hoyo shills were peddling that week, and yet Kuro games.
Was that really an excuse? The game was too hard to code? Or artifact loadouts were too hard to code? There's no way. There's no way that's what people were saying. Oh, artifact loadouts were too hard to code? All right. All right, sorry guys. I need to pull up some dog shit. Here we go. So, artifact loadouts were too hard to code, but whatever the fuck this is fine. Whatever the fuck this is fine. The shit where you can now select the elements of characters? Honestly, just dog shit. This was easier to code than artifact loadouts? Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. Just, okay. Sure.
A much smaller company, by the way, managed to pull it off in a few months. So tell me, how is Hoyo Shields gonna defend their multi-million-dollar company now?
Well, WoWa actually runs on Unreal Engine 4, and Genshin Impact still runs on Unity, and it's such an older platform that having these artifact loadouts would actually be impossible. And what it's going to do is it actually lets us, like, engage with our equipment more, not having the loadouts, and we have, like, a more active view on what we need to upgrade across our account. So it's actually better for progression, and having all these echo loadouts means that you're going to not feel as connected to the stuff that you've grinded, and it's going to detach you from the game, actually. So I like the way Genshin is right now. Let's keep it how it is.
Now, you all love bragging about how much money this company makes. You boast about the revenue you personally don't even see a cent of. But where's that money going? Is it being reinvested back into the game? Or
No, it's going to a nuclear reactor.
Just pocketing it while feeding you the same recycled content year after year after year? I'll say this outright. I back the right company. If this is the level of competition Hoyoverse is bringing to the table, then Kuro Games deserves every bit of praise it gets. Maybe now, some of you should open your eyes to what's happening in reality. A company making billions does not mean they have a good game. Money is not an indicator of quality. It is an indicator of how successfully they can exploit their audience. And the craziest part, Wuthering Waves has every right to be just as predatory. It's a gacha game, right? They could have gone full greed mode like every other title in the genre, but they didn't. They made a game that feels like a game first, gacha second, and that should be the standard moving forward. But instead, we have people applauding Hoyoverse for throwing them a survey. At the end of the day, this survey isn't about change. It's about pretending to care while doing nothing. They know the problems. They have known them for years. If they wanted to fix them, they would have done it already. They have no reason to listen to you when they know that you'll keep swiping.
Well, this is the thing. If Hoyo doesn't change anything after that survey about the talent materials and the weekly boss materials, this is the thing, guys. I feel like the players might actually get mad. But unfortunately, the only way for the players to actually get mad would be for the actual Hoyo CCs, the Genshin CCs, to get upset on their behalf and make it more of a movement across the community. But you know one thing for certain, when it comes to Hoyo affiliated CCs, it might be contractual obligation. You don't know what it is, but they will never, ever really talk badly about Genshin or Hoyo games as a whole on their most public channels. They might make like a little bit of a spicy tweet once in a while, but they're never going to actively make videos or like make content that is directly tailored as feedback to Hoyoverse. They're never going to do that. The worst that they'll do is they'll call the patch mid. That's the worst that they're going to do.
Keep defending, keep making excuses for them. And yet here we are, watching people fall for it again, acting like this is some massive shift, like this is the moment Genshin turns it around. No, it's not. It's just another meaningless survey, another empty promise, another cycle of disappointment. Genshin players deserve better, but they will only get better when they stop blindly trusting Hoyoverse. So before you defend your multi-million-dollar company, ask yourself, are you trying to make the game a better game, or are you Bran Online?
That was an absolute banger at the end there. Are you trying to make the game a better game, or are you Bran Online? A deal is a deal, Cheaton. Well played. Yeah, that's an absolute banger ending. I gotta say, pretty spot-on video from Glaive. I know it's a topic that has been discussed a lot, but I think it is something that needs to be stated over and over and over again, like we're playing Winter Soldier and Marvel Rivals. This needs to be repeatedly said again, again, and again. Because, guys, you need to, as a Genshin Impact player, if you want the game to become better, you need to start holding more of these devs accountable. You need to start holding more of these CCs accountable, and stop letting this wool get pulled over your eyes every single time that there's actually an opportunity to fix the game. I think that this survey is going to be answered. All the feedback is going to be registered, and then the devs are going to wipe their asshole with it after printing it out on a piece of toilet paper. They have no incentive ever to actually fix the things that players care about. You think about the fact that they added quality of life to the game, right? They added their artifact selector, guys, and it was so bad on release, they had to put quality of life for the quality of life. What other dev in the space, in any space, for any game, have you heard about a quality of life buff needing a quality of life buff? Because the devs are so stupid and greedy that they're not able to integrate it properly in the first place. You can only find behavior like that at Hoyo. And so with that, it's just hopefully the pendulum is going to start swinging in the right direction. More and more people will start holding these devs accountable, and they can just stop shoveling you bullshit and expecting you to take it. But unfortunately, you guys took it. You guys got milked. You guys got fucking milked because you went ahead, you saw the design of Solali and Mavuika's banner, and you still pulled on it, and you made them a fuck ton of money. And so right now, Genshin kind of just is a cash cow. The devs don't really give a shit. Their character designs are falling off of a cliff, and the game's in a terrible spot. The best thing you can do to save Genshin Impact is, again, stop fucking playing it. And then Genshin Impact will get better. So with that, let me know what you all think. Peace out.